Hi.
3 minutes is better than no.
We're here.
Show.
How you doing? We're live in your face.
In your face. I'm Perry.
And I'm Remy.
And we had our business meeting today, so we're starting kind of late. But good stuff. Good stuff happening all around. I'm going to take this skull cap off in a minute, but I'm kind of cold, so just bear with it for a while. Oh, you know what? While I'm shucking and jiving, talking about some bullshit, I'm going to allow Remy to read the show notes so that she knows what we're talking about tonight. Because it's very important that we understand what we're talking about tonight. Carson, welcome to the show. We're running a little bit late because of our business meeting this evening. Should report though that by all standards we're doing good, right?
Yes, we are.
Our audience is growing, engagement is growing. Yeah, thank you very much for watching the show, because it's because of you that our numbers are growing. And you know, we talked about how our numbers aren't necessarily growing like other transgender YouTube shows that are run by transgender women, but that's because, like Remy put it, we're not talking about, what did you say? Go ahead and say it.
We're not talking a bunch of trash. We're not just doing makeup.
We're not.
Hey, David, welcome.
We're talking about stuff that matters, and so it's going to take a while for our show to become what it's going to become, and we're playing as we do it, right? Not trying to figure it out. We're having fun, and as
we're figuring it
out
as we go, and having a great time doing it.
And having a great time, yeah. We've got some good chemistry going on here.
Yes, we do.
Okay,
hey, Ren,
welcome to the show. David, welcome to the show. You know, there are a number of people that I have noticed following us on Instagram who are in relationships that we're going to have to get on our YouTube show.
Ooh.
Because they have their Instagrams show that they're living life and having a good time. We're going to have more people on.
If you're watching, you need to, holla at us.
That's why I brought it up. If you're watching this show and you're interested in being on the show and you're in a relationship or not, send us an email at info@transamorousnetwork.com or connect with us on Facebook and let us know you want to be on the show, and we will contact you and get you on the show. We have a show schedule coming up in April.
Soon.
Yeah. In a couple
and we use Skype, so
yeah, so it's really easy.
You could be anywhere in the world. Tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Although, yeah. So, tonight on In Your Face, we have a little bit of news.
Hey, Devin.
Devin, welcome to the show. We have a little bit of news to talk about, but we don't have the headline, so we're not going to be pasting anything. But I told you I wasn't going to talk about this anymore, but Trump is forcing the issue. We found out last week, you guys probably found out too, that Donald Trump and the Trump administration has issued another ban on transgender people serving in the military. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because we said in a previous show that would probably not happen anymore. And now it's happening. And we just want to say that don't get your panties in a bunch, because just because it's happening doesn't mean it's going to actually pass. I read the new version of the ban, and it's basically the same as it was the last time. And so it's going to immediately go to the courts, and then the courts are going to decide. And from this point, it doesn't look like the courts are on the side of the Trump administration. So it's likely that it's just a bunch of
smoke.
Exactly. Trying to please the donors and with little actual substance. I told you I'd take this thing off once I got hot. What's up, Jonathan? Okay, so I hope Troy joins us, because this show is dedicated to Troy Kennedy. Because of the content we're talking about. Oh, wait a minute. Is there more news?
I don't know. Is there any?
I'm trying to think real quick.
Oh, yeah, we don't do a whole lot of pre-thought.
No, we don't actually. It's pretty much off the cuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it makes it so fun.
Exactly. Wow. So the other bit of news is you've been following what's been happening with the transgender murders. We've had our first sentence, or maybe the second sentence, but this sentence was harsh, like a mug. This person who murdered this trans woman got thrown 25 years to life for his participation in murdering a trans woman last year, I believe it was. And so this court case is setting the precedent for what penalties for murdering trans women under the Civil Rights Act, which is hate crimes exactly, is going to be looking like. So we can expect to see more.
Put them up under the jail.
Exactly. Exactly. We're expecting to see more people who murder trans women get similar sentences. Now, from our perspective, let me just say, because Remy might have a different idea. From my perspective, society is going about it the wrong way. Because when you put put these people in jail, it's costing us folks a whole lot of money to keep those people in jail. It's so much less expensive, in my opinion.
Stone them in the street?
No, not stone them in the street.
No.
It's so much better, in my opinion,
You can answer a lot of problems.
to address the reason why they're killing trans women before they actually kill the trans women.
Absolutely.
Instead of punishing them for an act that they've committed out of craziness, last-minute craziness, right? And so it's sad to me that we're seeing these people having to suffer these massive sentences when we could have gotten to them ahead of time before they became murderers and helped them own their trans attraction, which is what this is really all about.
Right. It's to get society to make it not a problem so that they don't have a problem.
That's exactly right. Well said, Remy.
Get over it.
Yep. Because the reason why at least half of the murders, as far as when we looked at the stats last year, half of the murders were happening because of what Remy said. The people who were doing a killing were afraid of what their friends or society or their own internal stories were saying about who they are as a result of liking or being in the bed or discovering that the person they're with has a penis. And so if we could, what's that called? Early intervention. If we could create early intervention programs for these men to soothe their fragile masculinity. I heard that term from a woman the other day. All masculinity. So the fact is, Jonathan agrees. Yeah, exactly. Be proactive, not reactive. So can you see those comments?
Yes, I can see them.
Good. Okay. So that's the news for tonight, I think. Another one might pop up in my head, but that's pretty much it.
Their toxic masculinity. That's another aspect of it. But even toxic masculinity is fragile masculinity. I
know, we could almost say that all masculinity is toxic. Almost, you could say that.
Almost.
Yeah, because it's if you're looking at the masculine, in my opinion, you're ignoring the feminine. And you can't have the masculine without the feminine because it's the feminine backdrop that creates the masculine. And so to not honor the feminine while you're looking at the masculine, it's just...
I know what I was going to mention.
Lay it out. Throw it out.
You know me, I'm always watching movies and documentaries and things. There's another documentary I was watching on...
Hey, Kendra.
It was either Netflix or Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Netflix. Mm-hmm. And it was regarding Britain's first transgender, transsexual gender reassignments, gender confirmation surgeries that happened back in the 1940s and 50s.
Was it a movie or a documentary?
This was a documentary about them. And so it was through... So the case of the woman is the famous case.
The one they made a movie about?
Probably, possibly, I don't know.
Okay.
But so a woman here in America went to...
England? Britain?
No.
Ireland?
Denmark, Sweden, somewhere.
Oh, right.
Had a sex change operation and then came back. This is, I believe, in the 50s.
Okay.
Well, in England, there was a woman who had a sex change operation before sexual reassignment. I'm sorry, whatever. We're trying to get it all out, so just listen to the words, okay? Don't get all sensitive. So, in 1940s, she had the first gender confirmation sexual reassignment, because I mean that's what it was at the time.
Well, at the time, yeah.
Surgery, and it was secret because it was illegal. And through this whole researching her and finding these documents and old letters from somebody else, they found the first sex change, which was a female to male.
Really? How
back
did they do that?
Late night, and they talk about it in the documentary. The doctor created this procedure because he was reconstructing penises for men who had
blown off in the war.
Off in the war.
Yeah,
and so he was creating these pedicles or something, these tubes out of your own skin. So he'd cut your skin and then roll it up, and then slowly cut it off of you and then put it where it needed to be. And so he was doing facial reconstruction surgery
from war wound
veterans with this technique, and through that technique he started fixing penises. Well, this individual, and I can't remember his name at the time, heard about it through the grapevine somehow or whatever, and went in and very secretively, because it was illegal, had repeated surgeries over the years.
Did the person survive?
It was he eventually, after like 10 years of surgeries, 9 years of surgeries, he ended up dying from complications from one of the surgeries.
I was wondering, yeah.
But the lady, she survived for very long. She died in 2011 in her 80s or something like that.
Because there's a
very interesting.
It is very interesting
documentary. You know what I mean? The language that they use is old, but again, we're dealing with people who transitioned in the 1930s and 40s. You know what I mean? Before it was allowed.
Mm-hmm.
So it was illegal in England to remove the testicles of a man for any reason, unless it was like some severe medical reason.
Wow.
So the trans man did it for her. Wait a minute.
The trans man took whose testicles?
The trans woman's. He cut them off for her so she could have her sexual reassignment.
So the trans man was a doctor?
No.
And he cut off.
So he connected her to his doctor.
Okay.
But the doctor's like, I can't do that because I can't start it because those are in the way and it's illegal for me to do that. Even though the whole thing was illegal.
No, I get it.
He wouldn't do is it called an orchidectomy?
Yeah,
is that right?
The orchidectomy.
He wouldn't do the orchidectomy, so he did it for him. So he arrived at the hospital halfway.
Halfway through the procedure.
Right.
Wow.
Right?
Wow, dude. Back in the 40s.
Yeah.
Wow. Because you know there's that movie called The Danish Girl.
Yes.
About the trans woman who... They called that the first trans... Y'all, audience, help us out. Someone do some research.
And then maybe that was the first in...
England.
Well, no, she was the first one in England. They're the first English.
Okay. Anyway, very interesting how far back this stuff goes. And if it's funny.
And we're just talking about the surgical concept of it.
I know. I want to get back to that penis thing. So they cut off. They don't cut it off, but they free up a flap of skin, roll it, keep it attached so that it continues to grow. And then they roll it again, maybe?
Something along the lines. It's an inner tube and then an outer tube of skin.
Okay. And because it's still connected to the body, it's still living.
It's still living tissue.
And then
when at the right time, they
cut it off.
Cut it off and transplanted it over.
For the men, for the non-trans related guys who'd get their dick blown off in war, when he replaced the penis, is it functional?
They can at least pee through it.
Oh, that's true. Wow, that's just fascinating.
Right? If nothing else, it's the psychological of a man of being able to have, even if it doesn't work the same way, at least you still have
what it looks like a functional penis.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Very interesting. Okay.
Comments in there.
Yeah, let's get some comments. So, hang on just a second, folks, because we got into this kind of late, and so I'm not quite prepared. Troy's making comments all over the place. Kendra, welcome to the show. Just get into the comments here. Actually, let's pull it up this way so that we can see.
That woman was a race car driver.
Oh, there you go.
Yes, she was.
Turn that off. Okay, so Lily LB was the Danish girl, was in the 1920s. Okay, thank you, David. And then Troy says, I agree with David Lofton. Hypermasculinity is the issue, trying to live up to unrealistic standards of manhood and failing to reach them, which is the cause of a lot of stuff that we're seeing in the world today, actually. Race car driver. Actually, I think... Oh, that was the woman, this comment that Kendra's making.
Roberta.
Yes, she was,
that was her name.
Really successful race car driver, and she was shunned by the... I think she was she kicked out of something? She was really manly looking, and she passed... I can't remember. I read about this somewhere on the internet. Yeah, wow. She got a penis, too. That's amazing. Back in that day. Nearly 100 years ago at this point. What was nearly 100 years ago? Is there another... Okay, it's not all masculinity that's bad. It's a culture of hyper-masculinity that becomes toxic. It's not real.
Hey, Troy.
Got it. That's true. David, what are you referring to when you say it was a nearly 100 years ago at this point? I'd be curious. Oh, he's probably talking about what you... Yeah, that's about 100 years ago.
Well, I mean, if you're talking about the 1920s, we're almost at 100 years ago since those first,
So it's interesting. All this stuff that the right is claiming that is new, what's this new phenomenon of these trans people coming up and all this new stuff about people wanting to be something other than their biological sex? But this has been happening for hundreds, in our culture.
Right.
I know,
It's
in
been
our
happening
culture,
for thousands.
It's been happening for thousands of years.
Beginning of humanity.
Even in our culture, yes. It just hasn't been as prominent as today. And it's just really interesting to see. The older you get, the more relevant history becomes, because it puts into the context the things that are happening now and how they've kind of never really... It's like nothing new has really happened in the world. It's all been happening.
It's all recycled.
It's all recycled. Yeah, it's really cool. Got a new comment. Forever. That's an interesting comment. Forever.
Sometimes people comment on something that we just said.
I know, yeah, that's
but
true.
we're not on,
That's true.
We talk really fast.
Yeah.
So, meh.
Hey, Kendra, are you on Instagram? Are you... I'm wondering if... Oh, no, you're someone else. Okay. Oh, no, that is you. Are you in a relationship, Kendra? The reason why I'm asking is because I think I saw you on Instagram, and if you are in a relationship with that guy, Will, where there's a Will, I think it's called, is his screen name on Instagram? I want to have you guys on the show if you're interested. So let me know in the comments if that's you, or if I've got you mixed up with someone else who looks a lot like you. That is you, I knew. Sorry. That is you.
Very excited.
Check with Will and ask him if he'd like to be on our YouTube show, because I'd love to interview the both of you. Your Instagram looks like you guys are having a lot of fun.
Nope.
Okay, there you go. That was short and sweet.
And that's how it works.
Okay, let's move on. So, the topic tonight is men, you got to learn how to fall. No, that's next week. Men, you got to learn that you don't know it all. And the reason why we're doing this show tonight is because men think they know it all. Okay. And especially with regard to this topic. So I am not suggesting that you need to listen to what we say. What I'm suggesting, or what we're suggesting in the show tonight, is that there is another source of information that is much broader than what you think you know is going on in your life. And that information is coming from your larger self, the part of you that's creating your reality. And so by tapping into that, you can... Oh, wait a minute. Now Kendra's saying she's single. So I guess we'll clear it up later. Back to the topic. And so there's an opportunity. You're kind of catatonic over there, Remy. You okay?
I'm listening. Okay. I'm waiting for you to get it together.
Okay. You're just sitting over
I'm waiting for you to get it together.
Blank face.
I don't know what's going on.
So
you have to start a conversation to have a conversation.
I know. So it's like men have this rugged individualistic nature, especially in the United States, where we believe that we have to do it all ourselves, or that we can do it all ourselves. Not necessarily that we have to do it all ourselves, but that we can do it all ourselves. And there's a sense of pride in that. And so it's like, don't try to tell me how to find a girlfriend. I can figure it out myself. And the challenge with that is that when you're trying to figure it out yourself, like not using your larger self to help you move through the world, then you're making it harder for yourself. And life doesn't have to be that hard.
And it's not like you're asking anybody else.
Well,
which seems to be such a hard thing for a lot of guys, is to actually ask for help.
It is very, yeah.
But you're asking yourself for help.
Well, that's the thing, is that the opportunity...
So it's like you're helping yourself.
Yes. And so by connecting with who you are in a larger scale, you can get the... It's so funny. You can get the help you need without asking for help. Because you're tapping into yourself, so you're not really asking anyone else for help. You're asking yourself for help. So the question is...
Self-help?
Self-help. Oh. Self-help. So how does that work, right? So so here's the promise. Because you always got to sell the features, not the benefits, not the features. So here's the benefits of asking your inner being to help you with your path. You can have a life you enjoy. You can easily meet the transgender partner of your dreams, or the man if you're a woman and you're single like Kendra. Turns out she's single. I thought for sure
the person.
I'm all confused about Kendra.
Stay on focus, and then we would all stay on focus.
Okay, so you can have the relationship you want, whoever it is that you want to be with. You can have that relationship easily. You can realize that the relationships you have that aren't the relationship you want are leading you to the relationship you want. In the meantime, the rest of your life can get all squared away, and you can realize that the life that you're living is actually a charmed life, because it is a charmed life. These are the benefits you can get by not going it alone. And by not going it alone, I mean by not relying on your brain to have the answers that it can't possibly answer. For example,
you're losing me.
That's why I'm about to throw down an example. For example, for everyone who's watching this show who is single, there is someone out there that is perfectly matched to you. The challenge is your brain, there's no way that your brain is going to be able to, your masculine nature, there's no way that you can figure out how to find that person. That's why when you think about that person, it's hard, it creates negative feelings like, I'm never, or I can't, or why do I always? Those kind of thoughts come up because you're trying to figure out the how, the who, and the when.
Right.
How am I going to find her or him? So when you guys listen to our show, just replace, I'm going to speak always about...
Just do that.
Yeah, I'm always going to speak about finding a trans woman. So if you're not looking for a trans woman, just replace the words that I'm using in your head, okay?
As I've said many, many times.
Yes. So the how, the when, and the who. How am I going to find the trans woman I'm looking for? When is that going to happen? And who is that person going to be? Those three things, those three questions that you ask, your brain can't answer. But your broader self, which is the universe, has the answers to all of those. And that broader self is trying to guide you down the path that leads you to answering all three of those really important questions.
Well, it goes back into the how and the not focusing on the how, right? Because you have the desire, you have this goal, but we start to, it's our nature. It's our habit, right? To start putting in the how am I going to make this happen? And you have to step away from that because the universe has such grander plans than you do and knows the right way to work things out. And just because you think something should work a certain way, and then when it starts going not the way you thought it would, doesn't mean it's still not going to end in the result you were looking for, right? It just means it's going to get there
in a different way.
Than you thought. The way you thought.
That's right. And so it's interesting.
Kindle, baby.
It's interesting because so think about history. You probably know that in the old, there are these, let's call them lore and legend, where civilization used to be guided by nature. Like, they didn't know where the next water hole was or where the wildebeest was that they were going to eat. They would be guided by nature. You
follow the signs.
Yes, you would.
Hi, Mama.
You would embody the spirit of the buffalo and discover where the buffalo are, or you would embody the spirit of the water hole, and by that you would be led to where the water hole is. Now, it's not that they're actually embodying the spirit of these things; they're tapping into their bigger self, their larger selves, which is connected to everything else, and through that they're getting the intuition. That's what's really happening, and that has not changed throughout history. Just because we have telephones and computers and airplanes and all that kind of stuff doesn't mean that the old style, the permanent style of being connected to all that is doesn't work. It still works. And so the opportunity that I'm talking about here is tapping into that old way, new way, eternal way of finding the answers to those three questions, because there's no way that your brain is going to figure it out. You have the tools to figure it out, but not through your brain. You have to tap into this larger part of you.
It's your other senses. It's your heart and your intuition and your gut.
Yes.
You know?
And the way to do that is not by entertaining the three questions. The way to do that is to relax into your present moment and accept everything that's happening to you now as
it comes.
As it comes. And as it comes, it's all good stuff.
Right.
And this is where appreciating the now becomes so important, because when you're appreciating the now, you're putting yourself in a position to receive the impulses, the intuition that tells you what to do next. So let's stop and take some comments, because I know that what I just gave you was a lot.
Ren says, you can't bend the universe to your will. Devin says, we gotta stop being lionesses and let the meal come to mama.
Yes, Devin! That's exactly it. Because here's the thing. Even the lioness and the lion out in the tundra, the African plain.
The tundra.
Yes. The African, I love it when you go, the African plain, even the lion and the lioness, it looks like they're chasing down the antelope, but before that happens, the universe has delivered the antelope.
Right.
The chasing down is just the final step. It's the action that the lion takes after the universe has provided.
Sitting quietly and listening and watching and tasting the air and feeling the ground.
Girl, you rock.
And watching the birds and all of the things. Right?
Yes, that's exactly right. So Devin's spot on. That's exactly right. What else? So, you said that part. Someone's loving somebody else. Hey, gorgeous. Kendall, welcome to the show.
That's my mommy.
Lori Lopez? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Oh, good. Hi, mommy. Ren says, as a musician, I'm always learning something new every day. I apply this to in my life. I'm never afraid to ask for help. That's great, Ren. So here's the thing, Ren.
Strive to be like Ren.
Yes. And the question is, if you're not afraid to ask for help, I don't know if you are, although someone making fun of my
Lions in the tundra.
I know. Damn.
It's all good. It's all good. We all make mistakes.
So anyway, back to David's comment. I think it was David. No, it was Ren. So Ren, you already know how to do this. Hi, Lori. So you already know how to do this. So focus on asking and tapping into your inner being, because your inner being, just like the lion in Devin's example, your inner being knows where your girlfriend is, and your inner being knows how to connect you with your girlfriend. And so if you just lay back like the lion does and just relax into your now, you will receive the message that leads you to the next step. And the next step might not be meeting her. The next step might be going and take a class, or going to a concert in Ren's case, or responding to an ad on Craigslists about a gig. Where I'm just making stuff up because I'm not a musician, but wherever you get your gigs from. And through those processes of enjoying yourself in your daily life, the natural connection will occur where one day you'll show up someplace and she will too.
Yes.
And when that happens, because it's natural, you won't be like this, freezing because you don't know what to say. It will be so spontaneous, the right words will come out at the right time. And that's how it works.
Absolutely.
That's how it works. Okay, so more comments. Everyone's making fun of each other.
Kendall says, meals that come to me are the best kind. David says, lions in the tundra.
How pretty would tundra lions be?
All fluffy and white colored. Troy says, I don't make mistakes. Aw, Yoda.
That's exactly right.
Pat you on the head.
That's it. Hey, Tamara, welcome to the show.
Hey, girl.
Okay, so...
They'd eat all the penguins. They probably would.
They probably would, if they could catch them. So, so how do we do this? What does this look like? What are the actual nuts and bolts of connecting with your inner being so that you are able to receive the impulses? In fact, actually, let's move past that step and move to what's it like to receive the impulses. So what does it feel like to receive the impulses? And this is where human beings are weakest. And there's a reason why we have somewhat disconnected ourselves from our inner beings. A little bit of a long story, so we're not going to go there. But the key to the disconnection is the deliciousness you feel when you reconnect. So how do you reconnect to your inner being and receive the impulses? Well, just like Troy going to the gym and developing his pecs or his traps or his delts, you have to develop the muscle of connecting to your inner being in the exact same way.
I've always said that.
Yes. And so it takes...
Third eye is a muscle.
Yes. And so it takes practice. It takes practice tapping into your inner being. And how you do that, you can do that in many ways. You can journal. You can meditate. You can do one-on-ones with us. You can practice appreciating in your daily life.
Take a walk in nature.
You can take a walk in nature. And while you're out there, instead of listening to your iPod or whatever, you can be focused on the nature.
Literally. Listen to the birds.
Yes.
Listen to the wind through the trees. Listen to the sticks crack under your feet. Listen to the breath. And listen to everything.
Yep.
The world is such an amazing place, and we've tuned it out.
So tuned it out.
Gosh.
Yeah. And so you do those things and until you get to the point where you're ready to take the next step. And the next step is to, in a focused state, sit in your room in a quiet place and try to quiet your mind. And when your mind gets quiet for a period of time, you will receive the impulse to do something. And it will feel...
Don't second guess it.
Yes.
Don't second guess it.
So this is the thing. So I'm going to get a little complicated again.
Take it slow. Use...
Thank you.
Simple words.
Help me out, yes. Rein me back if I go too far. This is important to understand, you guys. So time, as we move through time, the probable realities that surround us change. It's going back to what Remy just said about second guessing your impulse. So let's say you're here and
every choice between now and then is going to alter then.
Boom, girl. You're already on it. Okay, so help me out if I get too complicated.
Just keep it slow.
Okay, so as you're moving through time, let's say you've moved through time and here you get an impulse to go to 7-Eleven. But then you don't follow that impulse. So now, like 2 minutes later, instead of going when you got the impulse, you go 2 minutes later. 2 minutes later, the reality matrix, the probable realities that surround you have changed. And so if you go to 7-Eleven 2 minutes after you receive the impulse, you're not going to get the result of the reason why you got the impulse. You have to take the action when you get the impulse.
Well, it's as close to it as possible.
Because what will happen if you wait 2 minutes later, you have to get another impulse. So when you get to 7-Eleven, you have to wait for the next impulse. Mm-hmm. Because your inner being is constantly matching you up to the path that leads to what you want. But if you delay your response to the impulse, then the whole circumstance has changed. So
right. And that's what it is. All circumstances have changed.
They're always changing.
Everything in the universe has changed in the last 2 minutes.
That's exactly right. So like Remy says, when you get the impulse, you have to learn to not only hear it, but not second guess it, and instead take the impulse.
Right.
And it's fun. It's fun to practice doing this.
David, it's very key. It's second guessing yourself. That's when you miss so much and you end up in circumstances that you find unideal.
That's right.
Because you're not listening to yourself.
That's right.
You're not listening to your higher self, which is in some cases warning you.
That's right.
Some cases it's giving you a heads up in a positive or right? Or it could be letting you know to get out of that space right now or get to another place.
Go to another place, yeah.
Maybe you're going to meet someone. You're going to run into someone.
That's
you're
correct.
going to hear something or see something that'll lead you to the next step.
Yep. So here's an example
it's
of...
like a treasure map.
Yeah. Yes.
It is.
So here's an example of doing what Remy just said about...
You have the compass. You are the compass.
Yes. About second guessing yourself. And then we'll get to comments. So there's a guy in the Brotherhood, not going to mention his name, of course, who did some one-on-one work with us. And then one day, this trans woman that he really had affection for showed up in his life just out of nowhere. And instead of going with the flow of that and enjoying the process of that unfolding, he went into a place like, oh my God, I'm so desperate for this woman. I've been pining for her for so long and now she's here. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Like that. And he projected that energy to her. Mm-hmm. And as a result of that, guess what? She disappeared. She went away. Mm. And then he started complaining about how she's no longer there. Not realizing that if he just chilled in the presence of her return and accepted and enjoyed and appreciate the fact that showed up in his life, a different path would have unfolded for him. So when you're in the place of receiving what you want or getting an impulse to go someplace and then you go to that place and the result shows up, you really want to stay in the receiving mode, like the appreciation mode of the show up, so that you're not tightening up and creating a reality that's inconsistent with the result you just produced.
Right.
I hope that communicated.
Hopefully.
Let's take some comments. Oops.
Oh, what are you doing?
I don't know.
David says, I always ignore those impulses. Tamara says, naughty boy.
Ooh.
Devin says, when I catch myself in one of those hiccups, I stop and I ask myself, what would someone who loved themselves be doing right now?
Yeah.
And then go with the first impulse.
Yeah.
It's almost always go to the bathroom, eat something, or breathe.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting that's...
Go to the bathroom. That's an interesting...
It's self-care.
Yeah.
It's a moment of self-care.
That's exactly right. Devin says, I have that problem too, David, which is ignoring the impulses. Yeah, this is very common because in our society, it's so interesting. In our society, we're taught to ignore these things. Not like, don't listen to your impulses, but aspects of society tells us that messages we get from within are evil, like it's Satan, or it's
Some people interpret it that way.
Yeah. Or it's random and never right. It, like science will say, if you do a test of following your intuition, you'll discover that your chances of your intuition being right are equal to like random chance, is what science says. But if you really look at and follow your intuition in the way that we're describing, you will discover that actually that's not accurate.
Right. And to be 100%, you'd have to follow every single impulse to get a fair scientific results.
Yeah. And you also have to be, because
and then you have to have someone completely ignore every single impulse.
Well, and because life experience is subjective, you cannot have, oh goodness gracious. Oh good, you're back. You cannot have, because life is subjective, you cannot take an objective measure of the results that show up in your life. So I'm going to say that again. Because life is subjective, you cannot take an objective measure of the life experience you're having or the results that show up. So if you're trying to measure the results of intuition and you have a deep-seated story that intuition is no better than random chance, then the results that you produce are going to match your story, the deep-seated story. You're not going to get an objective measure because life is not objective, it's subjective.
Right.
So trying to look for results in life experience to confirm a hypothesis is impossible if you don't have the hypothesis as your deep-seated story. So, for example,
so you have to believe really deep down that intuition can win out
in order for to get that result.
Right. In order to get a fair result.
That's right. You can't look at your life experience to prove to you that your intuition is accurate. You have to get the demonstration from your intuition.
Right.
And until you've done it long enough to develop a strong connection with your intuition, you're not going to get the right results because you have a story that you can't believe your intuition.
Right.
So it's kind of like a dog chasing its tail.
Or as David says, pretty impossible to measure when you think about it.
It is. It is.
Exactly.
It is. You have to allow your life experience to demonstrate it to you, and the way you do that is through practice, like what we were saying about 10 minutes ago in the show. You've got to develop your relationship with your inner being and the messages it's sending you, and then follow those faithfully, like Remy was saying, and over time, it will prove to be accurate. And you'll have a lot more fun life doing it. So, Devin says, I am awesome at following my gut when I'm off watching.
Witching.
Oh, witching, thank you. But for some reason, I fail my intuition in day-to-day life. Oh, so yeah, that's the work. That's my work, I think. That's right, Devin. That is your work. Yeah.
Yeah. But, speaking as a magical person myself, we can fall away from that because we do. It's when we start walking a normal life, a daily life, and not living our daily life to our craft. If that makes sense. I think Devin should understand that. You have to walk every step in the craft to fully be there, if that makes sense.
That's the thing. You cannot, Remy is spot on, Remy and Devin both. You cannot separate, if you want to be successful with what we're doing, what we're suggesting, and you can be, everyone can be, you cannot separate your daily life from this practice. This practice has to become your daily life. And the cool thing about it is, when you do that, your life goes so much better.
Mm-hmm.
But we can't convince you of that. Your life experience has to convince you of that.
Right.
Yeah. We could talk all day long, and we do, about this, but your daily life will demonstrate it to you. If you give us like 2% of your trust and put this into action, your life experience will demonstrate the rest of it for you.
And it will.
Yeah, it definitely does. It's interesting how much the witching wisdom is consistent with what we're talking about, because it's so much the same. And unfortunately, society has this opinion of
the great mystery.
Yes.
We're here trying to tell you how to get through the great mystery.
Yeah.
It just ain't listening.
And have a good time while you're doing it.
Right.
Yeah. So Devin says, and I think I'm not doing that, Remy. I think we should behind the scenes about it. I don't know. David says, I have recently noticed that many times my intuition. I see. Oh, thank you. David says, I have recently noticed that many times my intuition has been right over my overthought logical choices. That's exactly right. Yes. Is David the musician? No, that was Ren. I think musicians have a better connection with their inner being because they realize that music is a product of the dance between their conscious mind and their inner being. Mm-hmm. That's where creation kind of emerges. And so it's easier for musicians and actors, performers in general, to have facility with what we're talking about than people who are caught up in the left brain. Is that the reasoning mind? Is that the reasoning mind, you guys? The left brain, or is it the right brain? I think the right... Anyway, you get my point. Anything else we need to do on this one?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I think we whipped this one together. We whipped this one to death. So next week we'll be talking about you got to learn how to follow your impulses. So this is so all of these shows that we've been doing.
Which is what we started talking about today.
Exactly. So we're gonna go in more depth next week. So here's some homework. If you want to take some homework and start practicing what we're talking about, I would
do it.
Yeah, this is a really good opportunity to get. You're gonna get material now that people are paying us $150 an hour to get. So here goes.
Ready? Take notes.
Yep.
Write that down. Read that back.
If you start your day in the morning saying, I'm going to follow my impulses, and then take like 5 minutes after you say that statement to like center yourself and focus on like your breathing and allow your mind to clear, and then allow that impulse to come to mind. And whatever it happens to be, whether it's go use the bathroom, go brush your teeth, go get something to eat, if you immediately follow that impulse and then try to do that with the next impulse and the next impulse and the next impulse as far into the day as you can, and it doesn't matter if you just make it to the point where you put your clothes on, do that every single day until next Monday. I would love to hear whoever puts that into practice come back with us about what you found out. Ooh. So there you go. So to repeat it, when you get up in the morning, say to yourself, I'm going to open myself up to following my impulse, and then focus your mind as quiet as you can and listen for the first thing that comes into your mind about an action to take. It could be get up and go to the bathroom. It could be go get something to eat. It could be kiss your lover.
Sorry.
No homework.
We all saw it at the same time.
We all saw it at the same time. I think she meant homework.
Yes, I think she did, but no homework. Well, I'm not going to tell you what to do. Call for blood, baby.
Yeah. So follow that impulse. Follow your impulses as far as you can into the day.
We'll grade you next week,
and then come back next week and tell us what you found out.
It'd be great to hear. It would be interesting to hear.
It would be interesting to see who follows it and see what happens. All right, you guys. Y'all making fun of y'all selves now. Have a great night.
Ciao.
See you next week.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.